Hi, welcome everybody to this session on key procurement and supply models. Today we will explore Kraljic Matrix, Supplier Preferencing Matrix, and Mendelow's Matrix. I will illustrate these models through a case study. By the end of this session, you will have a clearer understanding of how to apply these models in real-world scenarios and how to better manage your supplier relationships and stakeholders. One of the questions submitted to us before the webinar asked which model is best for developing a resilient supply chain. And the simple answer to that is that there is no one best model. You will need to use a combination of models and tools to analyze your supply chain processes effectively. And the three models that we will discuss today should go a long way towards helping you achieve that. Next slide, please. Actually, if we can go to the next slide, please. So let's have a look at the scenario that we're going to use to illustrate the models. EcoWood Furniture is a fast-growing company that specializes in manufacturing furniture from sustainably sourced materials like wood. With continued growth comes the need to improve their procurement and supply chain strategies. Next slide, please. Joanne, the newly appointed supply chain manager, has been tasked with evaluating the supply chain processes in order to optimize the procurement activities. She will be using Kraljic Matrix, Supplier Preferencing Matrix, and Mendelow's Matrix to help her do that. These tools will help EcoWood assess its position within supply chain, evaluate key supplier relationships, and develop strategies for managing stakeholders. Next slide, please. If we can just move on to the next slide. So we're going to start by exploring Kraljic Matrix. Kraljic Matrix is a strategic procurement tool as old as me. It was actually developed by Peter Kraljic in 1983. The matrix is still widely regarded as one of the most influential tools in procurement and supply strategy. Essentially, it's a supply positioning tool that can be used to categorize products and services based on key dimensions of profit impact and supply risk. Profit impact measures how much the product or service category contributes to the company's profitability, considering aspects like its role in revenue generation, cost impact, overall spend value, and importance to customer satisfaction. The supply risk dimension refers to the potential difficulty of securing the products or services. Based on those two dimensions, we just discussed the four quadrants of the Kraljic Matrix are non-critical or routine, leverage, bottleneck, and strategic. First, let's discuss the non-critical and routine quadrant. So these are the goods and services that are typically low value with little strategic importance. The goal here is generally to simplify your procurement and supply processes to reduce the administrative costs. Supplier relationships are not typically as important. However, remember that even for those non-critical and routine items, there are still benefits of having positive supplier relationships and the value that they can add. Next, we have the leverage quadrant. These items are crucial to the business, but they have many available suppliers, which normally gives a buyer significant negotiating powers. Companies can therefore take advantage of the strong negotiating position by obtaining many competitive bids, consolidating suppliers, and leveraging economies of scale. The focus is on reducing costs while ensuring quality and consistency of supply. Next, we have a bottleneck quadrant. Often these are low value, but even though directly not influencing the company's bottom line, they are difficult to source and could disrupt operations if not available. The focus is on ensuring that the supply remains uninterrupted, which may involve developing alternative suppliers, stockpiling inventory, or entering long-term agreements with suppliers to guarantee availability. The key is to minimize the vulnerability to supply disruption. Price is not your main focus. Strong supplier relationships will be very beneficial for those items and services. And finally, we have a strategic quadrant. These products and services have high supply risk and high profit impact. They are critical to the company's success, but may be difficult to obtain due to supply chain challenges. They are crucial for the business, requiring long-term partnerships and close management. Companies need to foster collaborative relationships with suppliers through long-term contracts, joint ventures, co-development agreements, just to make sure that they secure uninterrupted supply and shared commitment to innovation and quality. The relationship is often more about partnership and obtaining mutual benefits for both sides rather than just cost. Now let's look at the step-by-step process of applying the Kraljic Matrix. Can I have next slide, please? So your first step will be to identify the key products and services. Start by listing all the key materials or services that your company procures. Take advantage of reporting software available at your organization, your ERP systems, Power BIs or similar, that can generate reports based on your purchase history. You can either analyze each product or service individually or group them into categories such as by manufacturer, product type, or commodity. Unfortunately, sometimes you may be limited by the lack of data collected by your system. That's why good data management is so essential these days and can be a source of competitive advantage, as better visibility into procurement data enables you more detailed and meaningful analysis and therefore better informed strategies. Pareto analysis could be used at this stage that could help you quickly identify the 20% of products or services that account for 80% of your procurement spend. This allows you to focus on high impact items early in the process, saving time and prioritizing the key products and services. The next step is to assess profit impact of your key products and services you identified. This involves evaluating how much each product or service contributes to your company's profitability. In retail organizations, you will focus here on the products that generate significant revenue through resale. In manufacturing, the focus shifts to profitability of the final product that the component contributes to. You need to consider the overall cost impact by looking at the direct costs of the item and its overall spend value. High-value items are more likely to be of strategic importance to your business. You should also assess whether the product impacts the quality of your end product or service and whether that quality influences customer satisfaction and loyalty. Following that, your next step is to assess supply risk. So you'll be looking at your supply complexity by considering factors like number of suppliers available, risk of supply disruption, or whether there are any substitutes available. To gain deeper insight into supply risk, you can use tools like stippled analysis or Porter's 5 forces to understand all the external environmental factors or competitive pressures and supplier power in the marketplace. Once you've evaluated profit impact and supply complexity, you can plot each product or service into the 4 quadrants of the Kraljic Matrix. Your next step is to tailor your procurement strategies for each product or service based on the quadrant they fall into. When we say procurement strategies, we mean, for example, single sourcing, dual sourcing, multiple suppliers, offshoring, inshoring, outsourcing, long-term contracts, short-term contracts, and so on. One of the questions we often get is whether the Kraljic Matrix can be used to categorize suppliers, and what happens if one supplier provides products or services that fit into different quadrants of the matrix. The Kraljic Matrix is primarily used to categorize products. However, we can extend it to classify suppliers as well. So a supplier of a strategic item would be, by extension, considered a strategic supplier. Regarding suppliers that offer multiple goods or services that fall into different quadrants, the relationship is generally determined by the most critical item or service that the supplier provides. It's important to remember that the strategy might differ even within a single quadrant, depending on specific product or service characteristics. So, for example, some strategic items might require close collaboration with a sole supplier, while others could be sourced from multiple suppliers globally. Finally, you should continuously review and adjust your strategies as market conditions and supply dynamics change over time, affecting the positioning of your key products and services. Changes in supply markets, new entrants, technological advances, shifts in demand may all alter the position of the products and services. Just imagine that when more suppliers enter the market, transforming a strategic item into a leverage item, or products' profit impact might decrease as it reaches a later stage in its product life cycle, changing it from a strategic item to a non-critical item. And now it requires less focus and resource. Can I have the next slide, please? Let's try and apply the matrix to EcoWood furniture by categorizing some of the key products and services into the 4 quadrants of the matrix. Joanne, a supply chain manager at EcoWood Furniture, performs a Pareto analysis of products and services purchased to gain a better understanding of the company's spend. She identifies key categories of products and assesses their profit impact and supply risk and plots them on the matrix. First, we have leverage items. Natalie, if you can do a click, yeah. So leverage items for EcoWoods are products like fasteners, your screws, bolts, nuts, and eco-friendly packaging. These are essential to the production and packaging of the finished products, but they have a relatively low supply risk because they are widely available from multiple suppliers. EcoWood purchases this in large volumes, which gives the company strong negotiating power. For those leverage items, EcoWood Furniture should focus on leveraging its purchasing power. The company can negotiate better pricing by obtaining competitive bids from multiple suppliers. Since these items are not scarce, EcoWood could secure volume discounts by consolidating orders or negotiate long-term contracts to lock favorable pricing. They could also explore vendor-managed inventory solutions where suppliers manage stock levels, reducing internal administrative costs. EcoWood could also consider dual sourcing strategies to maintain competition between suppliers, ensuring that the quality remains high while prices are still kept low. Next, we have strategic items. So Joanne identifies products like sustainably sourced wood and specialized production machinery in this quadrant. These items are critical to EcoWood's core business and brand identity. Company's reputation relies on its use of sustainably sourced wood, which differentiates its product in the market. However, this wood comes from a limited number of suppliers, creating a higher supply risk. Similarly, specialized machinery used in the production is high cost and a unique specification and crucial to the operational efficiency. For these high profit, high risk items, EcoWood needs to focus on developing strong collaborative long-term relationships with suppliers. Long-term contracts with suppliers of sustainably sourced wood will ensure consistent quality and supply, protecting against price fluctuations or shortages. EcoWood should also be working with suppliers to co-develop more sustainable materials or enhance the durability and quality of the wood used. For specialized machinery, engaging in partnerships with equipment manufacturers can help secure access to new technologies or gain priority for upgrades or repairs, ensuring that production isn't delayed by equipment failure. EcoWood can explore opportunities for joint ventures or supplier partnerships to promote sustainability in the supply chain, aligning with EcoWood's eco-friendly mission. Joanne also identifies non-critical or routine items, which includes low-value products like health and safety and personal protective equipment. Next click, Natalie. So suppliers of health and safety and personal protective equipment and other tail spend purchases that can be sourced easily will be placed in this quadrant. These are low-cost, low-risk items that are not directly tied to EcoWood's core business operations. They have minimal impact on profitability and alternative suppliers are easily available. The goal with non-critical and routine items is to minimize the time and effort spent managing them. EcoWood can try and automate procurement processes by using e-procurement systems to handle those routine purchases with minimal manual intervention. They could also consider setting up blanket orders for recurring purchases, reducing the administrative burden. EcoWood could try innovative solutions like outsourcing procurement of these items to third-party vendors or use purchasing consortia to obtain bulk discounts with minimal effort. Finally, we have the bottleneck items. Joanne classified products like eco-friendly paints and varnishes in these quadrants. These products are not a high-spend category, but are essential to the finishing of EcoWood's furniture and align with the company's eco-friendly brands. However, there are only few suppliers that meet EcoWood's strict sustainability standards, creating high supply risk. Moreover, there is a chronic shortage of some of the chemical components needed for the production of those items. Therefore, suppliers are having a stoppage of their own manufacturing lines regularly. So for bottleneck items, EcoWood's strategy should focus on reducing supply risk and ensuring continuity of supply. That can be achieved through risk mitigating activities like maintaining buffer stocks of these items, giving the suppliers very accurate forecast data as far into the future as possible. Another strategy is for EcoWood to work with existing suppliers to increase their capacity or invest in R&D to develop alternative materials that can substitute for the current eco-friendly paints and varnishes. EcoWood should also explore supplier diversification by developing relationships with new suppliers in emerging markets, potentially reducing reliance on current limited sources. Another option is product substitution. If the supply of eco-friendly paints becomes too risky, EcoWood can invest in finding or developing alternative materials that can still align with its environmental goals, but are easier to source. Now that Joanne understands the positioning of EcoWood's key products, she can start refining the procurement strategies and, most importantly, the supplier relationship management strategies. In order to work on appropriate SRM strategies with key suppliers, Joanne needs to first understand the supplier's view of EcoWood furniture. This is where our next key matrix comes in. Next slide, please. And next slide. So the Supplier Preferencing Matrix, that was developed by Steele & Court in 1996. And unlike the Kraljic Matrix, this tool is used to view the relationship from the supplier's perspective. By knowing how a supplier perceives your account, you can anticipate supplier behavior, pricing strategies, and service levels. This knowledge enables you to adjust your negotiation approach, work on deeper relationships with suppliers, and allocate resources more effectively across your broader supplier base. The matrix uses two key dimensions: relative value of the business. This refers to the financial value that customer brings to the suppliers, and account attractiveness. This dimension assesses the strategic importance of the customer. Based on these two dimensions, customers are categorized into one of four quadrants. Nuisance are low value and low attractiveness customers. These accounts are often resource draining for the suppliers and offer little long-term value. Suppliers may seek to either improve the profitability of these accounts by increasing prices or reducing services, or they may phase them out altogether. If your company falls into this quadrant, you might consider consolidating spend to boost your account value or explore alternatives if the supplier's engagement diminishes. For example, a small company placing infrequent, highly customized orders that are difficult for the supplier to manage profitably will fall into this quadrant. And then we've got a development quadrant with low value and high attractiveness. So suppliers see these customers placed in this quadrant as having high potential but low current profitability. Suppliers may invest resources, offer competitive pricing, or seek innovative collaborations to grow this relationship. Procurement and supply professionals who find their organization placed in this quadrant should strive to deliver on the promise of future growth so they can stay attractive and benefit from the supplier investments. For example, a fast-growing startup that has yet to contribute significant revenues but holds a potential for large future orders will usually be placed in the development quadrant. Next, we have exploitable, high value and low attractiveness customers. This quadrant represents a potential power imbalance. Customers here generally generate significant revenue but are not seen as strategically important. So suppliers might maintain the relationship but with limited investment, and there is a risk of suppliers feeling trapped in low margin deals. While it may be tempting to leverage this position for short-term gain, it's important to avoid exploiting the supplier as it could damage the relationship. Instead, look for ways to improve strategic alignment with the supplier. An example here is a large buyer with high volume orders and low margin prices, but minimal opportunities for future growth or collaboration beyond transactional deals. Then we have a core quadrant with high value and high attractiveness of the account. This is where every customer wants to be. Core customers are highly profitable and strategically important, often leading to preferential treatment and deeper collaboration. Procurement and supply professionals should work to maintain this position by fostering mutual value creations and avoiding complacency. At the same time, regularly assess the risk of over-reliance on a single supplier and diversify when necessary. An example of this customer in a quadrant could be a multinational corporation with long-term contracts, joint innovation projects, and a significant share of the supplier's business. Next slide, please. Let's have a look at how to apply step-by-step process of supplier preferencing matrix analysis. First, collect supplier data. So gather all the information on the volume of the business that you provide to the supplier, how profitable your account is for the supplier, any strategic importance of your company, size, reputation, long-term potential. You may need to engage with your suppliers to get some of this data or conduct internal assessments to estimate some of these factors. You then need to assess the relative value of the business from the supplier's perspective. Remember, you're always doing it from the supplier's perspective. So you are not assessing your supplier, you are assessing yourself from the supplier's point of view. For each supplier, estimate how profitable your company is to them. Consider factors like the cost to serve your account, the overall value of the business, the margins, net profits generated from your account. In other words, can they afford to lose your business? Then you assess the account attractiveness from the supplier's perspective. For each supplier, assess how attractive your company is to do business with by considering strategic alignment, potential for future growth, or any other benefits you may bring, like reputation, open doors to other businesses, market intelligence that you could provide. Ask yourself questions like, are the margins the supplier can achieve attractive? What are your payment terms like? Are you a reliable payer? How easy are you to deal with? Now for each supplier, plot your organization on one of the 4 quadrants. Once you understand your key supplier's view of your organization, you can develop appropriate supplier relationship management strategies and prioritize the allocation of your resources. Which suppliers do you need to invest in strengthening the relationships with? Who do you need to collaborate closer with? Who to set up innovation workshops with? And which suppliers to lose and replace? As with any process, you need to repeat it periodically to make sure that you still have the correct understanding of the supplier's view of your organization. Can I have a next slide, please? Now let's take a look at how EcoWood furniture might categorize by its supplier, how EcoWood furniture might be categorized by its suppliers using the Supplier Preferencing Matrix. So Joanne considers how the key suppliers of EcoWood may view the organization by assessing the relative value that EcoWood brings for each of them and the attractiveness of the business. Let's first look at the development quadrant. A supplier of eco-friendly packaging materials might place EcoWood in the development quadrant. EcoWood is relatively new to the eco-friendly packaging material, and while the current spend might be low, suppliers likely view them as having high future potential. As EcoWood's demand for sustainable packaging grows, the relationship could become highly profitable and strategically important to the suppliers. So EcoWood's commitment to sustainability aligns with the supplier's values, and the supplier anticipates growth in this area as EcoWood scales its production and increases demand for eco-friendly packaging. The current spend may be relatively small, but as EcoWood is in the early stages of adopting eco-friendly packaging, this is expected to grow. To develop this relationship, EcoWood needs to work closely with the supplier on joint initiatives, such as creating innovative packaging designs, introducing new, more sustainable materials, and so on. This will strengthen the attractiveness of EcoWood to the supplier. EcoWood should communicate its future packaging needs clearly, emphasizing the potential for increased business as it expands its product lines and opens new markets. This reassurance will help the supplier see EcoWood as a key growth partner. As EcoWood grows, this relationship, it should seek to secure advantageous terms, such as fixed pricing or volume-based discounts, which will benefit the company as its demands for packaging increases. Now let's look at which key suppliers would view EcoWood as a core customer. EcoWood Furniture's commitment to sustainability and its significant spending on sustainably sourced wood makes it a highly attractive customer for the supplier of sustainably sourced wood. Not only does EcoWood's purchasing align with the supplier's core values, environmental responsibility, but it also contributes substantial revenue, making it a strategic and profitable relationship. EcoWood's regular and high volume orders ensure a reliable revenue stream. To solidify its position as a core customer, EcoWood should propose long-term contracts that offer stability to the supplier. This will encourage the supplier to prioritize EcoWood's orders, guaranteeing a stable supply of high-quality materials. EcoWood can also collaborate with the suppliers on product innovations, such as developing new sustainable wood products or alternative materials which can benefit both parties. This deeper collaboration helps maintain a strong relationship and can lead to preferential pricing or priority during shortages. Although being a key customer offers benefits, EcoWood should be wary of over-reliance on single suppliers. So diversifying suppliers or creating contingency plans can help mitigate any potential risks. What about the nuisance quadrant? For suppliers who provide low-cost, non-strategic items, like the personal protective supplies, EcoWood may be viewed as a nuisance customer. The value of the account is low, and the products supplied are not core to EcoWood's operations. As a result, the supplier may be less motivated to prioritize this relationship. The small infrequent orders make the account less profitable for suppliers, especially if the supplier incurs high servicing costs relative to the revenue generated. The right strategies here would be minimal engagement with the supplier and negotiate cost-effective contracts or simply shift to more convenient low-cost providers like online suppliers or bulk purchasing. If EcoWood wants to maintain a relationship with a preferred PPE supply vendor, consolidating its spend across the organization or bundling purchases into larger, less frequent orders could increase the account's profitability for the suppliers, leading to more favorable pricing or better service. Joanne might even consider switching to a local suppliers for whom EcoWood's account will be much more significant and will receive a better service as a result. Finally, we have exploitable quadrant. Larger, more diversified suppliers providing general materials or secondary components like hardware, fasteners, adhesive might see EcoWood as exploitable customer. Some suppliers may see EcoWood as profitable due to high order volumes, but not particularly strategic. These suppliers may feel that EcoWood isn't contributing significantly to their long-term business growth or innovation agenda, making the relationship more transactional than strategic. EcoWood's high spend generates revenue, but the supplier may see the relationship as one of the convenience rather than importance. And so what strategies should EcoWood pursue with those suppliers? EcoWood should use a significant purchasing volume to negotiate better terms, including lower pricing, faster delivery, or improved service levels. But since it's profitable for the supplier, EcoWood still has the negotiating power to push for better value. To avoid being deprioritized, EcoWood can explore ways to align its business with the supplier's strategic goals, such as offering co-marketing opportunities, joint sustainability initiatives, or technology integrations. This could elevate EcoWood's position from exploitable to more strategic relationship over time. Joanne should be cautious of suppliers who deprioritize EcoWood in favor of more strategically important customers. Early warning signs could include slower response time or reduced flexibility. In such cases, EcoWood may need to consider finding alternative suppliers or diversifying its supply base. Now just imagine that EcoWood discovers that one of the strategic suppliers of sustainably sourced wood doesn't value the relationship with EcoWood as much as they should. Communication has become difficult, deliveries are late, and the quality of the product has deteriorated. What is worse, recently, one of the batches was found to be supplied from non-sustainably sourced sources, exposing EcoWood to significant risk of non-compliance and reputation loss. Despite a lot of effort and engagement, the supplier is not improving their performance. And Joanne has taken a difficult decision to move away from the supplier. How can she manage the challenging situation? Our next matrix may come in handy here. Can I have the next slide, please? So let's first explain the matrix. Mendelow Power Interest Matrix is a tool used for stakeholders analysis. Stakeholders are anyone who have interest or involvement in your business, whether internally or externally. They can range from clients, suppliers, staff, shareholders, and investors. You should always consider these groups when making important business decisions, such as implementing new strategies, projects, or products. Some stakeholders have the power to change or even stop your plans. The matrix categorizes stakeholders based on their level of power and interest in the company's activities into 4 quadrants. Minimum effort, which are stakeholders that have little influence and are minimally affected by the decisions. Keep informed, which are stakeholders with limited influence but vested interest in the outcome. Keep satisfied, influential stakeholders who aren't deeply involved in the day-to-day activities but can still affect the outcome. And manage closely, key stakeholders who are highly involved and can significantly influence success of the decision. So using Mendelow's matrix effectively will enable you to adapt your stakeholder management strategies accordingly, increasing your chances of successful strategy or change implementation. Can I have a next slide, please? So to use the Mendelow's matrix, you can follow this step-by-step process. First, identify all the relevant stakeholders who are impacted by your new strategy or project. This can be internals, like team members, management, employees, or external, like customers, suppliers, and regulators. To make sure that you don't miss anyone from your list, brainstorm with your team, review any product documents so you don't overlook any stakeholders. Consider different perspectives and look at those who are not directly involved with the projects but can be affected, like local communities or advocacy groups. Then assess their power and interests. High-power stakeholders can directly affect outcomes, while lower-power stakeholders have limited influence. High-interest stakeholders are directly affected, while low-interest stakeholders have limited concern. Now map the stakeholders based on your assessment of power and interest for each stakeholder group. Place them into one of the 4 quadrants. You are now ready to develop the management strategies. You will be able to tailor your engagement and communication based on the power and interest levels of each stakeholder. So it's important to prioritize your stakeholders based on their involvement with the project and how important they are to the success of the project. Finally, monitor and adjust. Stakeholder positions may shift over time, so it's important to keep updating the matrix. New stakeholders may emerge, some may drop off, particularly in long-term projects. Power dynamics may shift, so personal changes can affect stakeholders' interests, and stakeholder priorities may change, especially in response to external events or internal decisions. Next slide, please. So here's how we might apply the Mendelow's matrix to EcoWood scenario when Joanne, the supply chain manager, makes a decision to move away from one of the key suppliers. A decision that is not welcomed by all of the stakeholders. With the help of the team, Joanne identifies all the key stakeholders that may have interest and be affected by the change of the supplier of sustainably sourced wood. Internal stakeholders are senior managers, procurement team, compliance team, production team, and board members. Some of the external stakeholders she identified are current supplier, new supplier, customers, and regulatory bodies. Joanne assesses the power and interests of the identified stakeholders and plots them on the Mendelow's matrix accordingly and decides on the most appropriate communication and engagement strategy for each. In Keep Satisfied quadrant, she places stakeholders like board members, environmental regulators, and investors. They have high power, but low interest into day-to-day activities of EcoWood supply chain management. Board members have the power to influence or veto major business decisions, but as long as the supplier change aligns with EcoWood's strategic goals, such as maintaining sustainability, their interest in day-to-day process will be minimal. Environmental regulatory bodies will wield significant power over EcoWood's compliance status. While they may not be interested in the specifics of supplier transitions, they need reassurance that the new supplier is fully compliant with sustainability standards. So as long as Joanne assures compliance and provides periodic updates on the decision-making process and outcomes, those stakeholders will not need any detailed information, and keeping them satisfied through transparency will prevent any negative surprises. Compliance reports, executive summaries should be enough to maintain their confidence. The next quadrant is manage closely. Joanne knows that the stakeholders she will place in this quadrant are the most critical in the process. They have a high degree of both power and interest, and their support is crucial for the success of the supplier transition. She places senior managers and a potential new supplier in here. Senior managers are directly involved in strategic decisions-making and will be highly invested in ensuring that EcoWood mitigates the risks associated with the supplier change. This group will want to know how the new supplier fits with the company's sustainability goals and operational needs. And the new supplier, of course, will be crucial in maintaining EcoWood's supply chain continuity. Their interest will be high, as securing EcoWood as a client represents a significant opportunity for their business. Joanne should engage senior management frequently and involve them in decision-making. This could include regular meetings, update them on negotiations with the new supplier, potential risks, and how EcoWood plans to handle the transition. With the new supplier, she should build a strong partnership by working closely to align expectations from the start and ensure that the operations meet EcoWood sustainability and quality standards. Current supplier and general employees of EcoWood are placed in the minimum effort quadrant. Since the old supplier is being phased out due to poor performance, the influence over EcoWood is diminishing. They still provide wood in the short term, but they may have little interest or power in shaping the future decisions of EcoWood's supply chain. And most EcoWood employees, especially those not directly involved in the procurement or production, will have little interest in the specifics of the supplier change. For these stakeholders, minimal communication is sufficient. Joanne can offer a polite but straightforward notification to the customer, to the current supplier about their phase-out, and maintain basic professionalism. For employees, a simple internal announcement may be enough, providing basic information without burdening them with too much details. Finally, the keep informed quadrant is where procurement and supply staff and production team sits in. Both of those teams are very interested in the supplier change, but they lack power to make decisions. So procurement team, as the team responsible for executing supplier transition, they are highly interested in the details of the new supplier contracts, delivery schedules, pricing terms. However, they do not have the authority to make the final decision on which supplier to choose. The production team is concerned about maintaining a steady supply of wood to keep production lines running. So they need to be kept in the loop about the potential disruptions, but don't directly influence supplier decisions. Joanne should keep the stakeholders well informed through regular updates and encourage feedback to ensure their operational concerns are addressed. For the procurement team, she could arrange regular briefings to track the progress of the new suppliers onboarding and work through any challenges. For the production teams, she should provide detailed updates on sustainability, compliance, and any potential impacts on production timelines. By applying this Mendelow power interest matrix, Joanne can ensure that all stakeholders are effectively managed during this transition away from the underperforming supplier. This approach will help EcoWood maintain compliance, manage risk, and ensure a smooth transition. So that concludes today's sessions on the three key procurement models: Kraljic Matrix, Supplier Preferencing Matrix, and Mendelow Matrix.